Now, in the early 1950s, my father bought this old house, and one of the first things that you would have noticed as you came up the avenue, on that wall straight in front of us, where you see the white stone pebble dash, it is actually, that was where the figurehead of the Wild Deer ship sat. Now, how did that figurehead end up at this house? Well, 3 or 4 people who owned the house before we did were called McKelvey, and they were seafaring people, and they owned shipping, and I believe they were involved in the smuggling as well, as most of those shipping folks would have been. So that's where she sat, and as children, my brothers and sisters would have played round that old figurehead. We threw stones at it and climbed round it, and it sat there for a long time. But maybe in the 70s, there was a man from Ballyhalbert expressed that he would like it, and my mother always hated it, so she gave it away. So there's a bit of a mystery story as to where it went, but this was the place where she came from. So this is a map showing Northern Ireland and Scotland, and Sam's going to take us through the journey which the Wild Deer took.
The Wild Deer left Greenock and was towed by steamboat tug to she reached Plata. Then she was released and set sail. The wind was south-southeast, and when she came abreast of the Craig, or Paddy's Milestone as you like to call it, the wind turned southerly. She come on down into the wind, making good passage, and tacked out to the southeast, and then tacked into the southwest, where she ended up between the lighthouse and the perch.
And it was actually Cannon Rock that she struck.
Well, that's the story goes.
And Cannon Rock would be a quarter of a mile outside where the lighthouse is standing today, roughly.
Yep.
So we're going to head out now on a little boat, and the boat belongs to Earl Ager and Sam. He's going to skipper it, and we're going to have a little look out round where Wild Deer Bay, as the locals know it is, where the ship was wrecked. And I'll put the drone up and show you some of the photographs from the seaward side. It's a beautiful place, but a treacherous place as well, and some places there's only 2-3 feet of water below us. So we'll go and do that, but I'll show you a little diagram first. So this is my rough diagram of the little trip we took, not to scale, mind you. So this is Cloughy Bay. When you're standing in the old church graveyard looking out to sea approximately a mile, you will see the lighthouse here. It's an old lighthouse stump. It was disused when the Wild Deer got wrecked because it was the only place it could build, had a solid foundation. Cannon Rock is further outside the lighthouse, and there's another bit of rock out here as well. And the boats were still foundering on that, and they had a lightship out there when the Wild Deer wrecked. So it's approximately a mile from the shoreline at Cloughy out to the lighthouse, and it's approximately a mile from this lighthouse over to this red structure here called the Perch. It's a concrete structure built on the rock, and all the way out to that rock at very low tide there's a reef or a spit. It's called Kirkeston Spit actually, and you can walk or run if you're very speedy before the tide comes in, and some lunatics have done it before, but you know, the tide comes in very quickly and it's very slippy. You can hardly stand on those rocks, there's that much weed on them. So you're talking approximately a mile from here to here, and approximately a mile back into land again. This is the top end of Cloughy, up here. And when you go and stand on Cloughy Bay, you'll be able to see all those, especially at low tide. So we departed out from Silver Bay here, and we headed up this way on our boat, and on up. The lighthouse was on our right hand side, on up round the outside of the reef, and out and down round this Kirkeston Spit, and we anchored in here somewhere, and we got off and I put the drone up. So that's where your photographs are coming from. So the Wild Deer, when she was on her trip, she was coming down from Greenock. She came round the outside of that perch, down in here. She was tacking in the wind. I'm not a sailor, so this is roughly. And then she tacked back out again, and she struck Cannon Rock and came back this way then and foundered somewhere in around here, which is Wild Deer Bay. So that's roughly where we're going, but we are departing from here, going right up around the outside.
What the way of going to do or just keep closer to the flat?
Aye. You can even swing her there, standing on the right road. Put them up on the right road here, if you want. If you want.
How much water's below us, Earl?
3 feet.
3 feet. In this drone shot, we're flying directly over the perch, the red structure below us, and we're heading towards the lighthouse straight in front of us. And just directly left of the lighthouse, you will see a little outcrop of rock. That is called Cannon Rock, and that is where the Wild Deer struck. So she was coming in from the left of the picture and tacking in the wind, and headed into the bay, past the lighthouse. Then she turned tack again and came out and struck Cannon Rock to the left of the lighthouse, and that's where she foundered. She was unable to get manoeuvred in that small area, and then the tides and the wind drove her back into the bay. So we're talking from the perch to the lighthouse about a mile, so she was drifting back in and blowing back in. So that's where she foundered.
Okay there.
I know.